Hello and welcome to this program of highlights from the 19th Biennial Convention of the American Postal Workers Union. I'm Celeste Crenshaw. On Thursday, delegates traveled by bus to 3 Going Postal shipping centers in the Las Vegas area to protest the offensive name of these stores.
Well, we're here to try to clear up any misconceptions people have about Postal Service employees. This Going Postal, there's a negative inference that's drawn by it, and we know, as representatives of the American Postal Workers Union, we know the hard work that our rank and file members do every day, and we just think it's an unfair characterization, and it's just, I think it's prejudicial to Postal Service employees. And we're going to go out today and rally and try to let the public know and let these businesses know that we don't appreciate the use of that term.
It's in Webster, and Webster defines it as postal employees who are violent. That's what the term means. And you expand that for commercial reasons, you know, you're denigrating the character, the commitment of 700,000 postal employees who are really dedicated to serving the American public. And they're are American citizens. They're not violent people. There are exceptions, but no more than it is in society at large.
I'm with Bill.
It's a sore subject with us, considering what happened in Oklahoma City when this phrase became coined. And for somebody to be using it for profit is an insult to every postal worker around the country. And we're not a violent people. We don't have violence in the workplace, but to keep bringing this up and keep the perception there is just wrong. And to be making profit off it is totally wrong.
We're out there in the public doing a service, and it's just, we want them to be aware that making jokes saying going postal is really not a joke, and we don't take it lightly.
It's just unbelievable that the Postal Service is so insensitive as to do business with a company called Going Postal. That is just hard to believe. It's hard to understand. We want them to sever their ties with this organization.
Earlier this week, the Labor Management Committee wrapped up its work on several resolutions that will affect future bargaining with the Postal Service.
One of those resolutions was the erosion of postal workers' jobs, and the other was prioritizing what we felt would be some of the most important issues to work on. We believe that the most important issue facing the American Postal Workers Union right now is protection of our jobs. Because with all of the other information that we present to our National Executive Board and Negotiating Committee, if we don't have jobs, that would be for naught. So we wanted to make sure the delegates sent a clear message that we support our Executive Board and our President, and we would like for them to do everything in their power to stop the contracting out of jobs, stop the erosion of our work going into other crafts, and protect postal workers and their incomes and their families. Well, we saw quite a few topics. One of the topics that came up was bereavement leave. We looked at some of those issues. The issue of doing away with casuals was really one of the ones that we thought was very important, because during the last round of negotiations, there was provision provided from the floor that we do away with TEs. But after reviewing that, we now have resolutions that would like to do away with casuals and bring back the issue of TEs, which are bargaining unit employees.
Delegates approved a constitutional change that eliminates non-functioning locals. It requires them to merge with others or become members at large.
The national constitution is how our union operates, how it runs, how the officers are paid, what their duties are, what their responsibilities and authority is. And the Constitution Committee gets together every 2 years in Washington, D.C. in advance of the National Convention and goes over the Constitution, reviewing all the resolutions that are submitted to change, address, amend, modify, and add new language on it. And it's a very important and distinctive duty and also honor to be involved with that, because it determines how our union runs. The beauty of the National Convention and working in concert with the Constitution Committee is that Resolution number 9, which was dealing with the duty of good faith representation, retaining charters for locals, making sure that duty of good faith representation is met, wasn't properly worded by the Constitution Committee. As we got to the convention, there was a lot of concern about it, that it would be heavy-handed or something, and through the democratic process of meeting and amending and discussing and going back and forth, we came out with a resolution that all the delegates were able to live with. They all supported it, and it got a huge response.
Convention delegates applauded the private sector workers from Cincinnati, Ohio, who recently won a union contract through the APWU.
At this time, I present to you our lead organizer, our lead private sector organizer, who's doing an outstanding job in increasing our membership through private sector employees. This has been an ongoing effort by APWU, and Mark Demenstein has led our efforts since its conception. I work directly, very closely with Mark, can attest to the hard work and determination that he applies to his job. So at this time, for the purpose of introducing to you members of the newly certified group organized in the APWU, the MTAC grouping in Cincinnati, Ohio, I bring to you Mark Demenstein. Mark.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Don't be shy now. David, come on over here. Thank you, Brother Burris. With me today are some courageous brothers and sisters that we would like to introduce to you. Standing next to me is Brother David Dixon and Sister Jannie Coffey. And though they're being shy behind me, the Cincinnati Greater Area President Angie Holtgreave, their Vice President Michael Funk, and the well-known Ohio State President, Brother Terry Grant. The MTECs, there are about 22 of them in the United States. For those who don't know, are private companies that repair, palletize, empty equipment for the United States Postal Service. There are 4 of them now that have organized with the American Postal Workers Union: Springfield, Massachusetts, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, and now Cincinnati, Ohio. Every one of those places have a collective bargaining agreement that the workers can be proud of and are proud of.
The 7-year struggle to win a contract in Cincinnati is just one example of how corporate America tries to stop workers from exercising their rights. Private sector workers at the DHL facility in Wilmington, Ohio, who sort packages and transport the mail, have faced many obstacles in their effort to organize with the APWU. On the eve of the union vote in May, DHL announced it was closing the facility and eliminating over 8,000 jobs.
I was there when we heard the announcement. We were only 10 days away from a union election at the time. And I was very proud of our lead organizer on that campaign, Tony Olson. Tony's first reaction when he heard that news was, we have to fight for these jobs. And I just felt like that, you know, his immediate reaction was to do the right thing. And that's the way the APWU does things.
The job fight in Wilmington is about taking a stand against corporate greed destroying workers, their families, and their communities. DHL bought Airborne in 2003 as part of a major expansion in the United States. They got over $500 million in tax incentives from the state of Ohio and a promise of a return for decent jobs. They have 8,000 workers from a 4-county area, small rural towns, farms, and they've decided to close the hub.
That particular area of Ohio has been awfully hard hit with job loss after job loss over the last 10 or 12 years. And recently a General Motors plant closed in Dayton, and now this announcement of over 8,000 jobs going to be done away with in Wilmington by DHL moving away.